Alright guys, we're up to the section of the notes on glaciers. And we'll do some notes on glaciers, just like some of the other videos. We'll look at some pictures of glaciers. I think pictures are a good way of kind of understanding some of these concepts too. So let's take a look at them. So first of all, a glacier would be a large mass of moving ice and snow. And one of the things that I think is kind of interesting about glaciers is the way that this ice forms. Glaciers, of course, form in cold environments on tops of mountains and closer to the poles. But the ice forms not from water freezing directly. The ice forms from the compaction of snow. So we have snow come down, and then more snow lands on top of that snow, and more snow lands on top of that snow, and it gets compacted and compacted and compacted. And if we take snow and we compact it enough, it'll slowly transform into ice. So it's not exactly that we have liquid water that's freezing and turning to solid. It's really more of snow being compacted, and eventually it transitions into ice. We can divide glaciers into two main groups or two main categories. The first type of glacier we'll look at is what's called a valley or alpine glacier. And these are the types of glaciers that form in mountains. These form in mountain valleys at high elevations. These are the types of glaciers that we would see in the Rockies, and the Andes and the Himalayas and so on, the large mountain chains. There are even glaciers in Africa. Even though it's near the equator and warm there, at high elevation, at high altitude, we could still have glaciers. So we have the Rockies, the Himalayas, of course, the Alps, right? So there's many places around the world where we have these alpine or valley glaciers. And that's what this diagram is trying to show. We have ice accumulating from the compaction of snow in the valleys of our largest mountains. And this is really due to it just being cold on top of mountains. And we talked about why it's cold on top of mountains. A lot of people don't really think about that. But again, the air is thin, we have fewer particle collisions, there's just less air molecules banging around at those higher altitudes. The second type of glacier is what's called a continental glacier. And these are glaciers that form over vast areas, large areas. And this is due to latitude. So now we're not talking about cold due to elevation. We're talking about cold due to latitude. We're talking now about places like Greenland, places like Antarctica, right? These are areas that are cold due to latitude. They're close to poles. Right. So those are continental glaciers, much larger, and again due to latitude, just the fact that it gets colder as we get towards the poles, and that again is due to the curvature of Earth's surface. That affects the angle of insolation, the amount of light that areas get. All right, then we talked about valley glaciers, or let's talk a little bit more about valley glaciers or alpine glaciers. So here we have a diagram showing an alpine glacier or a valley glacier. We're going to look at the mountain glaciers first. First of all, it moves slowly downhill. It flows. It flows something like a river, but slowly. So the glacier slowly flows downhill. It's a gradual change. It takes time. If you were to stand on a glacier, you're not going to see it move. The rate of movement is very slow. I've been on a glacier a couple of times, and you don't see it move, but you can hear it move. You'll actually hear the ice creaking and cracking as you're standing on it, as it's slowly making its way downhill. There was a very famous experiment done some time ago. I'm not sure exactly when, but researchers went out to a glacier, a valley or alpine glacier, and they put a bunch of sticks or posts in the ground in a line. And then they went back sometime later, maybe like 6 months later or so. And what they discovered was that the sticks had moved. The sticks were not in the same place that they were before. And that the sticks made a pattern, something like this. A V-shaped pattern. So after a period of time, the sticks were not in a horizontal straight line. They made this V-shaped pattern, right? And this indicates a few things. It means, well, for one thing, the glacier shifted down. So the glacier shifted downhill. But the fact that the center stick is the furthest away from where it started from indicates that the center moves faster than the sides. So we have a higher rate of speed in the center of the glacier, and then because of frictional forces, the ice is rubbing against the sides of the valley and the bottom of the valley. We have friction. It's not moving as quickly, much lower rate of speed. So we have high velocity in the center and then lower velocity on the ends here. It was a famous experiment with the sticks. Now there's another term that's important when we look at these glaciers, and that's the term moraine. We're going to flip back and forth a little bit. A moraine is unsorted rock material carried and deposited by a glacier. So when a glacier flows, when a glacier moves, it transports the material and it moves it in an unsorted way. With water, streams, rivers, the sediment tends to be sorted. We have the largest particles on the bottom, and then they get progressively finer. We don't see that with a glacier. A glacier is often referred to as something like a bulldozer, and it just scrapes and grinds and moves that dirt and jumbles it all together. So it's unsorted sediment. Now we have many different types of moraines. We have what's called a lateral moraine. And a lateral, well, that means side. So we're talking now about unsorted rock material on the side of the glacier, over here. So that would be our lateral moraine. And again, I know these diagrams aren't the best. We'll look at some real pictures of some of these things in a little bit. Where we have two valley glaciers flowing downhill and merging together. Where they meet, we have what's called a medial moraine. Underneath the glacier, where the ice is in contact with the ground, we have what's called a ground moraine. If we look at a glacier from the side, well, we have other moraines too. Oh, let's just fill these in. This is lateral. Oh, let me come back up. Lateral. We have the medial. We have the ground. And the last one is something called a terminal moraine, or end moraine. And I think if we come down to this diagram, we can explain the terminal moraine pretty well. So we have snow getting compacted. Eventually that snow compacts and becomes glacial ice. So again, we're not really talking about liquid water freezing usually. I mean, there's probably some of that, but it's mostly snow getting compacted. Eventually it starts flowing downhill because of gravity. And then where the ice is pushing, this whole thing is moving forward, it's acting like a bulldozer, it's scraping the ground, and over here we have our what's called terminal moraine. Terminal means end. This would be like the front of the bulldozer. And at the front end of this moraine, we have an unsorted mixture of sediment. We have huge boulders, we have sand, we have silt, we have clay, and it's all mixed together in a unsorted mess. So we have terminal moraine. I'm going to go to the reference table for a second. You don't have to get it out, but if we take a look at a map of the state, which is here, and we look at Long Island. Long Island is over here. And if we look at the legend, we have these dashed lines. And if I look at the legend over here, it says Cretaceous and Pleistocene epoch. That's something we'll talk about when we do Earth history. But more importantly, it says weakly consolidated to unconsolidated gravels, sands, and clays. What this means is this is a mixture of unsorted sediment. If you were to dig a hole in Long Island, you would find unsorted sediment. You would find gravel, sand, silt, clay, all mixed together. Long Island is a terminal moraine. During the last ice age, the glaciers advanced from points north, scraped up sediment, moved it all down, and Long Island was the extent of the glacier. And we have this big pile of unsorted material, which we call Long Island. Then eventually the climate changed naturally over time. It got warmer, the ice melted, and the ice went further back north again. But it left behind this big pile of gravel and sand and silt and clay, and that's a place now we call Long Island. So Long Island is a terminal or end moraine of a glacier during the last ice age. We also talked about a while ago this idea of residual versus transported soil. Glaciers transport tremendous amounts of sediment, probably even more so than running water. We just don't think about it because our glaciation happened 10,000 years ago or so. All right, let's go back to the notes now, and let's just do one more concept. If we look at valleys in mountains, we can see evidence of glaciers, even though the glaciers may be gone. When a stream does erosion, a stream-eroded valley is going to have a V-shaped valley. So streams, cut down the river valley and make V-shaped valleys. Whereas a glacier carves out these giant U-shaped valleys. So we have these U-shaped glacier valleys. Rivers carve out V's, glaciers carve out U's. So even though the glacier may be long gone and have melted, we can see evidence of the glacier where we have these giant U-shaped valleys. And that's something that we could even see around here. Because even though we don't have glaciers today, we did have glaciers during the last ice age. We could see these large U-shapes in the valleys instead of these V-shapes. So when we see a V-shaped valley, we know that water caused that. If we see a U-shaped valley, we know glacial ice caused that. And again, the ice may have melted many years ago, but we can still see evidence of it. All right, so I think that's all for now. In the next video, we'll look at pictures of the things we talked about, V-shaped versus U-shaped valleys, the different types of moraines, and so on. So watch out for that. Okay, thanks.